Welcome back to another Ret Paladin video. Verabin here. Today there was a huge update that dropped that includes tons of tuning changes. Some of these are directly related to Ret Paladins and some of them are more secondary or indirectly related to Ret Paladins. And those are to other classes that maybe we're struggling against in PvP or PvE. So we're going to take a look at all of those changes and then kind of talk about how those are going to affect Ret's viability in a variety of ways. That includes PvP and Mythic Plus, as well as raiding. So we're going to take a look at all that stuff. I'm really glad to see that Blizzard is making tuning changes this frequently. At this point, they're tuning every single week, and that's a really good sign that they're paying attention to what's going on and the viability of certain classes and stuff like that. So we are going to take a look at all those changes. Stick around. Before we get started with the video, please be sure to hodge that like button and subscribe for more Ret Paladin content. We're going to be doing content 2 or 3 times a week in Shadowlands, so you don't want to miss a thing. Also, check out the description in the video for links to Patreon and different merchandises that are available. There's a lot of different ways you can support the channel, including Amazon affiliates. And the way that works is you click below, and even if you don't buy the items that are linked, anything that you buy in there, proceeds of that will go to supporting the channel. So if you're enjoying the content, please consider supporting it in one of those ways. We're going to go through these kind of briefly and focus on the Ret Paladin specific ones, but there's a few worth pointing out. So one thing, the mastery for Unholy Death Knights was reduced by 20%. I think that was needed. They were way head and shoulders above everyone else in raid damage, so that's good to see. Marksmanship hunters have been nerfed again. I think they were again pretty high up there in PvP and PvE, so that's good to see as well. Let's take a look. You can see that rogues are getting a healthy nerf. I don't think that this is really, I don't think that this is too big of a nerf. It is going to be pretty significant. It looks like there's a conduit, got reduced a little bit, and then Echoing Reprimand's damage was reduced quite a bit, which I think was necessary as well. And then this one, this was a pretty big, it's a pretty big nerf to assassination. I'm not sure why they're nerfing Night Stalker, but you can see that it also is reduced for subtlety, so that's a big thing there. It's going to reduce Rogue's Burst quite a bit. Shadow Blades got nerfed a little bit, and it looks like Cold Blood was actually bugged, where it was ignoring the effects of versatility. So that's good to see. I mean, some of this stuff is going to be bug fixes and stuff like that. So these are all the rogue changes. I think are fair changes. It's going to reduce the burst a little bit, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting. One thing that is somewhat of a nerf to Ret Paladins, and so many of us are Kyrian, is that combat meditation, which is Pelagos' soulbind, the very first one that you get that procs mastery. That has actually been reduced by 50% in PvP. So that's actually going to reduce our burst quite a bit because our mastery is really, really strong and helps our burst a lot. The duration is increased by 50%. So that's kind of interesting. I don't really know why they increased the duration. I guess they're just trying to make it where it's not quite so big of a hit in PvP, but let's take a look and see. There's a couple other things that I wanted to point out here. So this is due to the massively increased pace of PvP combat in Shadowlands. I have a video coming out this week, probably tomorrow, to show some of the fights that I've had in PvP, and the pacing is insane, you guys. If you haven't done PvP in Shadowlands, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, dampening will no longer begin at 20% in 2v2 arena. Dampening is applied immediately in 2v2 and after 5 minutes of 3v3. So what that means is that instead of it starting at 20%, it's going to start at 1%. That means it's going to begin at the beginning of 2v2, but it's not going to start at that big 20% in 2v2 any longer. And I think this is a really I think this is a good idea, because one of Ret Paladin's utilities and our defensives and things like that is healing, and that is just immediately nerfed by 20% at the beginning of a 2v2 arena. So I think this is a really good thing for Ret. It's obviously going to impact every other class as well who can heal, the hunters and rogues, and everybody can heal, right? But I think because it's so critical to Ret Paladin's survivability and our defensiveness, things like that, that I think that is going to be pretty good. I think that this also applies to shields, so I think that it means that our shield will be a little bit stronger at the beginning of 2v2, so that'll help us survive that burst a little bit longer. So I think that's a pretty good change there. There's some changes here to the Maw. I don't really spend a lot of time in the Maw, but it looks like they are going to remove Stygia from dropping from those, from little tiny critters, and then elite creatures are going to drop more Stygia, so that's pretty good. I'm not really sure if people are in there farming Stygia or not. It doesn't really seem that worth it to me. It seems the Maw seems pretty lame to me right now. I mean, there's dailies and stuff in there to do, but I just don't think it's worth the effort at this point. So that's just kind of my opinion. I don't think it's worth the effort. There is also a ton of tuning changes in Torghast, and these are definitely going to affect Ret Paladins. I think I was able to clear up to layer 6 for both of the wings that were open this week, but it wasn't super easy. There were times where I was dying a little bit and stuff. So we'll see. It looks like they're actually increasing the health and damage on floors 2, 4, and 5, so that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why they're increasing that. Maybe they're seeing people blow through it too quickly. I'm not really sure. Let's take a look and see. So for Ret Paladins, let's scoot on down here. So Ancient Writ of Order can be obtained 3 times, was 5. Ancient Writ of Order is a really, really strong one for us to stack, so I'm surprised. That kind of sucks that this one got nerfed quite a bit. This is the one that increases the damage of your holy power spenders, so that's kind of a shame, because that was one of the strongest ones in there, because that basically increases your damage by so much. Blood Beacon, I think this is the one that gives you stacking holy power every 10 seconds, so it's just like 1 holy power per 10 seconds. So now that's going to cap at 3 versus 5. That wasn't one that we really stacked, so that's not really a big deal. Shattered Gauntlet is the one that increases Hammer of Wrath damage, so that one's a shame to see as well. I kind of like that one when combined. There's a lot of Hammer of Wrath ones where you get more stacks of Hammer of Wrath and stuff like that, so that's kind of a shame to see. And I'm not really worried about this one. That was a Blessing of Seasons. There's not really very many Night Fae Paladins out there. This is another nerf here. Radiant Essence increases Forbearance damage dealt by 15%. This is one where anytime you have Forbearance, your damage was increased by 25%. Now it's only 15%. So, and you can only stack it 2 times versus 3 times. So again, another pretty huge damage reduction here. I guess they really want to maintain the difficulty of Torghast. So I guess that's good for them. Emperor of Carillion, I have no idea what that is. Hallowed Cannon now deals 30% increased damage, so that's an Ash and Hallow one, so that's a shame. Pretty big nerf there. And then Golden Plume increases the effect of Hammer of Wrath by 6, or Avenging Wrath by 60%, was 100%. So that is another pretty substantial nerf. That's not targeted towards Ret Paladins, though. There's tons of other nerfs that are pretty much happening across the board, but are reducing your ability to stack certain traits that I think are probably trivializing Torghast a little bit. So if you were to get Ancient Writ of Order 5 times, in the first couple floors, you're just going to sail through the rest of it. So it's probably fair, but I'm not really sure that was necessary. I can see that Rogues almost got no changes, which is interesting. I've actually heard that Rogues are struggling a little bit in Torghast, so that's probably fair, but everybody else is getting a ton of nerfs. So that's the Torghast changes. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the PvP changes. Do you think these are fair? Do you think Ret Paladins survived here? We actually didn't get any specific nerfs or anything, so it's more just our relative viability when we see Unholy Death Knights and Hunters and Rogues get kind of significant nerfs. So please be sure to hash that like button and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah.